I've lived in San Francisco my entire life, and I know exactly which neighborhoods throw first-time homebuyers and people relocating here to San Francisco off guard. The problem usually isn't the neighborhood itself, but often a lifestyle or price mismatch. Some areas look absolutely perfect online. They might have great photos, a great walking score, and a great price per square foot. However, many times these places tend to be the ones that buyers quietly regret 6 months down the line. By the way, hi everyone, my name's Epstein, and I'm a lifelong San Franciscan and realtor here in the Bay Area. If you're looking to buy, sell, invest, or even rent a property in or near San Francisco, I'd be more than happy to help you. Please feel free to contact me on my information below. And with that, let's get back into the video. Let's start off with number 5, Lower Nob Hill. This is one of those neighborhoods where the value proposition looks great on paper. You are getting one of the best price per square foot in the entire city. Many believe that the architecture is gorgeous here. You have historic pre-war buildings with high ceilings and real character for the neighborhood. You're also walking distance to Union Square in the financial district. But here's the mismatch. Lower Nob Hill sits right up against some blocks that are genuinely rough. The reality here changes block by block in a way that's easy to miss if you're touring during the daytime. A buyer that might walk in at an 11 a.m. on Tuesday might feel like everything's totally fine, even charming. My concern is that if that same buyer moves in without doing proper due diligence and sees what it's like at 10 p.m. on a Friday night, they might feel completely different about the situation. This is exactly the type of thing that might not show up on listing photos or daytime showings. So if you're seriously considering putting an offer in on a property in this part of the city, I'm not here to shy you away from that. I would just strongly suggest you walk in that area at night so you have a complete understanding of what it's like. If you can, it would even be a great idea to talk to some of your neighbors or some people that you know that live in the area. That 10 extra minutes of homework might save you a costly decision. Again, I'm not saying to avoid this area. The value here is real, and for the right type of buyer who's used to an urban environment, it could be a great choice. What I'm saying here and what I urge you to do is not let price per square foot be the only determining factor here. Moving on to number 4, which is SoMa or South of Market. On the surface, this area has a lot going for it. Here you have a ton of new condo and loft buildings and a lot of tech offices in the area. Similarly to Lower Nob Hill, you're also walking distance to FiDi. The pricing here is also more approachable and enticing compared to your neighbors here at South Beach or Rincon Hill. Here's where the mismatch happens. SoMa isn't one consistent experience. It's kind of like patchwork. Certain blocks and certain buildings feel completely fine. They're well maintained and they're secure. Other blocks can have real safety and street condition issues. Many times this catches relocating buyers completely off guard, especially with people coming from cities where their neighborhoods tend to be more uniform on a block by block basis. The second thing is the neighborhood character. A lot of buyers picture living in San Francisco as having some neighborhood identity. Things like a main street, local coffee shops, a park nearby, you get the idea. The thing is, large parts of SoMa are more transitional and industrial feeling. It's convenient, but it doesn't deliver in the way that many buyers expect or want. The thing to know here is that buying in SoMa is not really a neighborhood level decision. It's more of a block by block and building level decision. Before you write an offer, I urge you to walk around the immediate neighborhood for where you're looking to purchase. Ideally a couple different times throughout the day so you can get a real feeling of what that exact location is like and the neighborhood at a bigger picture. Up next, we're going to talk about a neighborhood that might come as a surprise, and that is the Marina District. The Marina is one of the most iconic parts of all of San Francisco. Here you have the waterfront, Chrissy Fields, the Palace of Fine Arts, a lively bar and restaurant scene on Chestnut Street, and a neighborhood with real energy. For a lot of buyers, especially younger professionals or people in tech, this is exactly the kind of San Francisco they expect and are looking for. Here are the catches that surprise people. The first thing is the lifestyle fit, which I just alluded to. Chestnut Street can be great. It's fun, social, and it can get loud on weekends. For some buyers, that's a feature, but for others, that's completely a deal breaker. I would recommend that people walk the neighborhood on a Friday night and also on a Tuesday morning so they can see how vastly different those experiences are. If you love the Marina's energy but want something a little calmer, Cow Hollow is just nearby. This gives you a lot of the same walkability with a more quiet and residential feel. The next thing we're going to talk about here is parking. Parking here can genuinely be brutal. If your building doesn't come with a parking spot, this can be a real adjustment to living in the area. Many people think twice about owning a car here. I personally know a great friend who used to live in the Marina District. He owned a car, but rarely seemed to drive it because he was always worried about getting a parking spot in the area. And lastly, a large part of the marina sits on land that was built after the 1906 earthquake. This means that parts of the neighborhood are in a liquefaction zone. That matters for a couple of reasons. It can affect insurance conversations and inspections considerations. It's something that buyers absolutely need to understand property by property rather than something that's uniform for the entire neighborhood. Up next, we're going to speak about South Beach and Rincon Hill. These neighborhoods are home to a lot of the newer San Francisco high-rise condo buildings. They tend to have great views, resort-style amenities, and are walkable to places like Oracle Park and Financial District. This is where you go when you want to have a lifestyle that it is genuinely upscale. Here's where many people's regret tends to creep in. The HOA fees in these buildings tend to be a meaningful cost above your mortgage. Many buyers don't budget appropriately for that. Also, many people are caught off guard by special assessments. High-rise buildings tend to have expensive and many times specialized infrastructure. Elevators, facades, plumbing systems, sometimes even structural elements. When major repair work comes up, the cost here can be split amongst the owners in what's called a special assessment. This comes on top of regular dues, and this is why I always recommend requesting the HOA financials, the reserve study, and understanding any special assessments that might come up in the near future. This is genuinely one of the most important parts of due diligence when buying a condo in San Francisco, but it's even more important when it comes to these newer high amenity condo buildings. These buildings tend to be more complex, and when you're purchasing a property in a neighborhood like South Beach or Rincon Hill, you really want to have a good understanding of these. Check the HOA reserve study comprehensively and ask about previous maintenance work that's been done and any upcoming work that they might expect. To be clear, I'm not saying to not buy a new high-rise condo in this area. For plenty of people, it's the right fit and it matches their lifestyle perfectly. What I am saying is to not just budget for the unit itself, but rather the building as a whole. And lastly here, let's talk about Mission Bay. On paper, this neighborhood looks incredible. It's brand new construction, modern buildings, great amenities, and it's right next to Chase Center and UCSF's campus. It's easily one of the most talked about and one of the most Instagrammable neighborhoods in the city right now. I get it. It photographs beautifully and it looks like the future of what the city could be. But here's where the regret starts, and it's the cost stack. A lot of properties here carry a community facility district tax on top of your normal regular taxes. This is San Francisco's version of what you see as Mello-Roos in other parts of California. It funds the infrastructure that makes the neighborhood function. Then on top of that, you have your HOA dues and your normal regular property taxes. Add all of those fees up, and that's the actual monthly cost of what it costs you to live in Mission Bay. This number can be meaningfully higher than what a buyer initially budgeted for. That's why you can't just look at sales price, but you have to look at the picture as a whole. The second thing about Mission Bay is that it's still a developing neighborhood. The dining and retail scene here has filled in a lot, but there's still some room to grow. It's not nearly as comprehensive as other neighborhoods in the city, especially ones that have been around for much longer. If part of your draw is walkable restaurants and a built-out neighborhood feel, you might not get that completely here in Mission Bay. With that being said, there has been major progress and it does look like that's coming. The last thing is that new construction is actively being built and sold here still in Mission Bay. So if you're planning on selling 3 to 5 years rather than keeping it for the long term, you might be competing with new construction rather than just resale properties. When brand new units are being sold in the same neighborhood, that can affect resale pricing. Honestly, I kind of love Mission Bay. It feels kind of different from the rest of San Francisco. For many people, this can be a great fit. If you like brand new construction, appreciate its proximity to Chase Center, and are okay with its cost stack, then it might make sense for you. But it's the kind of neighborhood where the sales price alone doesn't tell you the real monthly costs. That's what I see catches people off guard the most. So now let's recap. Lower Nob Hill has great price and character, but check the block, not just the unit. SoMa is convenient and often underpriced relative to its neighbors, but it's a block by block decision rather than a neighborhood-wide one. The Marina is iconic and social, but understand the insurance, parking, and noise reality. South Beach and Rincon Hill have beautiful high high-rise living, but budget for the building rather than the unit itself. And lastly, Mission Bay is the newest and most exciting neighborhood in the city, but make sure to run the full cost stack before you fall in love with any renderings. San Francisco is really a city of very different neighborhoods. The right one for you isn't objectively about which one is best, but rather which one fits your lifestyle the best. Figuring out what that looks like for you is what matters the most in this process. Again, if you're thinking about buying in San Francisco and want to look at what neighborhood makes the most sense for you, please don't hesitate to contact me. That's gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. It would mean the world to me if you could like, comment, and subscribe. The best way you could actually support me is by sharing this with family or friends who you think could find this helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.